Today on Politics Unplugged, a county leader taps a big name to bring hockey back to the desert. Will it work? The debate over free speech rages as Jimmy Kimmel returns to late night. And could Arizona's newest member of Congress give Democrats the decisive vote to release the so-called Epstein files? Now on Politics Unplugged.
And good evening, I'm political editor Dennis Welch. This is Politics Unplugged, and top-level pro hockey has had a star-crossed history here in the Valley. 3 troublesome arenas, a laundry list of bad owners, and now the Coyotes call Utah home. But there's an effort kicking into high gear to bring hockey back to town, and one of the people spearheading that effort is the chairman of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, Thomas Galvin, and he's here to talk about that. Thank you very much for being
Dennis.
here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and you promised this at the beginning of the year when you took over the chairman position of the County Board of Supervisors. Before we start getting into everything else, like, why are you making this such a big issue? You're the county chairman. Normally you're dealing with zoning issues, and every couple of years you're dealing with election issues. Why pick up this?
Well, there's a lot of issues that are important for me and for my fellow colleagues at the County Board of Supervisors. We're proud of our financial record. We cut the overall tax rate again this year. We increased salaries for the Sheriff's Department. But on this issue, it is a sports issue, but for me it's also an economic development issue. I consider myself a booster of the Valley, a booster for Arizona. I didn't like to see how the process went down when the Coyotes and this whole shambolic way that it went when they left town, and I thought it was a reputational hit on Arizona. For me, this is about advocating for the region and advocating for the state as a whole. Okay,
so one of the things you've done, you're putting together a study committee. You made that, you're putting that together. You made a big announcement this past week. It's the wife of Shane Doan, former, for people who aren't into hockey. Apparently, he played the sport very well when he was here, longtime member of the Coyotes. Who is she, and what is her job, and what is this board doing?
Exactly, and let me talk to you about the theme of what I'm doing here. So with this advisory panel, this committee, it's a 3-legged stool. I'm putting together political leaders, business leaders, and obviously hockey experts. And I believe that hockey and the Doan family are synonymous with each other in Arizona. Shane Doan had a great career, but his wife Andrea was there for every single minute of that career. But also her son played for the Coyotes and is now on the Buffalo Sabres. And so I think having Andrea Doan is a blessing for the community. I'm really proud and happy that she accepted my offer to chair this committee. In the next few weeks, we're going to be rolling out other names of the committee, but we need to do this from the bottom up. All the other times that we have seen the Coyote previous ownership groups fail is they did a top-down approach, and that just doesn't work. So yesterday we had a press conference at the Scottsdale Ice Den with a bunch of kids and hockey youth advocates, and we're showing that this is community engagement, and we're going to grow this the right way.
So what is this committee going to do? How many people are going to, when you're done putting this all together, how many people are going to be on this committee? And what's the role? What's the task here?
My plan is to have the committee of a handful of people, but every single person will be vital to making it a success. But there's 2 tasks at hand. One is to find an owner. In this day and age, you have to have deep pockets. And number 2, and this is the issue that has bedeviled the Coyotes' history, is finding a suitable location for a world-class arena. Those are only 2, but they're very 2 big question marks. And so this is a years-long process, but my intention is to see about it done the right way.
So years-long process, so not going to be happening anytime soon. Any estimates? We're talking, what, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road?
I'm just putting years with a plural. We have seen other expansion teams get done in Seattle, obviously in Las Vegas. Those also took years. But what is appetizing here and enticing here is that I've had conversations with NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman, and he's been very supportive of this effort that we're doing. What we need to do is show the NHL we're not entitled to a team, but we got to work hard to earn one. But I think this will be good for the community.
And where's the evidence to show that there is a large enough base of fans out here to support hockey? And I say that is because people who are into hockey are very passionate about that. They're very loud. Are we talking about a loud vocal minority of fans, or is there a larger base out there that could support an NHL franchise and that would make it worth going through all of this process to get a team here?
There is definitely a sizable base here. First of all, the Valley is so good at hosting sporting events. We host the Super Bowl, NASCAR, the Phoenix Open. We have other great professional sports teams here. This is the 5th largest city in the United States. To not have one of the top 4 teams, I just think is really weird. But also there's a really good sizable fan base that is mourning the loss of the Coyotes. The problem that the Coyotes had was that they never really had a good location. And I believe if you have a good location and you build it in the right spot, you're going to see a great fan base come out, and you're going to see exciting hockey happening and winning hockey.
So one of the things is finding an owner with deep pockets, but you also got to find, I would think that given the history of the ownership of the Coyotes and the experience the Valley and sports fans went through with that, what type of person is probably just as important as having deep pockets? So what kind of person are you looking for?
I want someone who cares about the community, someone who cares about the Valley. I think we see that with the other owners of the sports teams here. And we know who they are. I think they've done a tremendous job, each in their own unique way, of engaging with the community. That's why we had that event yesterday at the ice stand. Andrea Doan and I had it with Lindsay Fry, who runs the Shout Foundation, which is a youth hockey program. I want the next owner of this hockey team not just to see it as a dollar and cents issue, but as a community issue. Kids here are involved in all different types of sports. There's a lot of kids, boys and girls, who play hockey, and to engage with the community will be vitally important.
Well, speaking of dollars and cents, there's always taxpayer money issues out there. And one of the first things people are going to be talking about is like, is this going to be a hit to the taxpayer? Because you're looking for a location. You've said that is very important. It's been a big problem for the hockey organizations here in the Valley. Are we talking about another publicly funded stadium? We saw what happened in Tempe. In large part, that was kind of like the last thing that happened before the Coyotes moved. They tried to get that. It was a multi-billion-dollar arena done in Tempe. The voters rejected that. Very clear the taxpayers have no appetite anymore for funding sports stadiums. So is this going to eventually down the road cost the taxpayers any money?
First of all, that's a hypothetical, so we're not there yet, right?
Sure.
We told you the two tasks are to find the owner, find the location. So whoever ultimately owns the team is going to have to answer those questions. But also, Dennis, I want to point out was that we just saw this year legislation pass for the Diamondbacks to keep them at Chase Field for the next 30 to 40 years.
Sure.
That was a bipartisan effort, and that was a multi-jurisdictional effort. You had the governor's office, you had the legislature, you had the county, you had the city of Phoenix, all these different parties involved. That was a bipartisan deal, came out with a public-private partnership.
Not everybody's happy with that deal,
Not
though.
everyone's happy with it, but guess what? It passed, and I think ultimately voters understand what the message was, right? And you can argue the details of that, but there is a precedent that was set for that. We also have a state stadium tourism board that oversees Glendale Stadium. The other thing is that these stadiums don't just host sporting events. At Chase Field, they only have baseball 81 days a year, but the rest of the year they have football bowl games, they have concerts. That would happen here at a new arena as well. These are community assets, but all those questions would happen down the line.
Okay, I know you don't want to answer hypotheticals. Politicians of all stripes have gotten very good at not answering the hypotheticals. So let me ask you a question related to that. What is your philosophy on taxpayer-funded stadiums?
My personal philosophy is if it's a community asset already owned by the government has a responsibility to maintain it, own it, and make sure that it's operated well. However, if you have the pockets and the wherewithal to pay for a stadium for yourself and you want to assume the risk of buying a team, then you should also be able to assume the risk to build and own and operate a stadium. But each situation is independent of its own. However, we do see public-private partnerships in other industries, not just with sports. We're seeing it with TSMC, we're seeing it with renewable energy, we're seeing it with large data centers and semiconductor companies. There's different types of way that government can work, but government should not be in the business of running a sports franchise, should not be in the business of running a hotel, what have you. That's my personal philosophy. But what I'm doing here is an advocate for the Valley, an advocate for Arizona. The news that we have made has made news not only across the nation, but in North America as well, because Canada is paying attention to this.
And before we go real quick, it's important to point out that you are not doing this as part of your official capacity on the Maricopa County Board of
this is not a county effort. This is me in my personal capacity, being a community advocate, rallying people together to work hard for this.
All right, Thomas Galvin, Chairman of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. Thanks for sticking around here. Good luck with your effort here in the future. And still ahead, I'm bringing in our panel to talk about all the political stories of the week, including the looming government shutdown, when Politics Unplugged continues.
It's now time for your political roundup, a check of the major headlines shaping politics in Arizona and across the country. We start with the federal government facing another potential shutdown. Republicans and Democrats have until midnight Tuesday to cut a deal that keeps the government up and running. At the same time, President Donald Trump appeared to push the U.S. Attorney General to investigate some of his most prominent enemies. Reportedly, one of those targets is billionaire Democratic donor George Soros. Jimmy Kimmel drew over 6 million viewers on his return to late night, nearly 4 times his normal audience. ABC suspended the comedian after comments he made about slaying conservative activist Charlie Kirk. In Arizona, Adelita Grijalva cruised to victory, potentially giving Democrats the decisive vote to release the Epstein files. She replaces her father, longtime Congressman Raul Grijalva, who died in March. And finally, hundreds of new laws took effect last week in Arizona. The one getting most of the attention requires identification to watch pornography online.
And let's bring in our panel now, Republican political consultant Marcus Dell'Artino and former Democratic lawmaker Reginald Bolding. Thanks for being here. Let's start with the government shutdown. One of the big stories out there right now. Seems like an annual event. We're always looking at a potential federal government shutdown. But at this point, as of this taping on Friday, it looks like it's probably heading that way. So let's start with you, Reginald. Anybody win a shutdown? Because, both sides are already busy trying to blame the other side for the shutdown. At the end of the day, though, does anybody win?
No. I mean, when you talk about, does anyone win? I don't think so. I mean, in Arizona particularly, a shutdown matters a lot. You have our national parks, you have military pay, you have food assistance programs. So you find yourself in a position where, folks may try to earn political gain and say, hey, the Republican Party's in control, they shut down the government, they can't figure it out. But then you also have everyday folks who are really utilizing and need those services. Mm-hmm. So you find yourself in a position where, you have to figure out a way to compromise and actually keep this government running. But as you mentioned, this is something that's happening year after year. No matter who's in charge, the federal government has to figure out a way to operate in a way that's not going to cause chaos and panic consistently.
Yeah, and one of the things the Democrats are asking for in this whole negotiation at this point is there's a pot of money for Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, that's about to run out. And that could mean that a lot of people's premiums could skyrocket by as much as 75% is what we're seeing. Democrats going to get what they want out of this?
I mean, that's weird that premiums would skyrocket. I'm used to my premiums going down almost every year. I mean,
Congratulations,
on,
you're the only one.
It's never happened. Yeah, there is. I mean, first of all, as a society, we're numb to shutdowns now because they happen so often, and there's rarely a price has been paid at the ballot box when it does come around. But yeah, it is a big issue, and people are going to be very upset when their premiums go up. I think we're probably going to be able to avoid that. I don't think Republicans want to be blamed for premium increases. And remember, the blame game is going to be difficult here because Republicans have control of the Senate, the House, and the executive. And so this will be, we're going to have to thread the needle here pretty tightly.
And does it have electoral consequences? I'll leave this open to either of you. I mean, just in Arizona alone, we're talking about nearly 60,000 federal employees. Not all of them would be furloughed or anything like that if there was a shutdown, but a lot of them would. Would this have any electoral consequences heading to a midterm?
I mean, I think there's a lot of things that's going to have an electoral consequence. Now, a shutdown, 2025, early October, I don't know if that's going to be top of people's mind. But, when you talk about healthcare premiums increasing, when you talk about some of the other things, those are absolutely going to be top of mind issues. All
right. Now let's move on. Let's talk about President Donald Trump. He's always setting the agenda here. We're always talking about him. This week, what we saw is more evidence that he wants to go after his political enemies. We saw that the former FBI director, James Comey, was indicted the other day. We've seen reports showing that suggesting that he's urging Pam Bondi to look at George Soros. What's your make of all this?
It's a mess, is my short-term make of it. And here's my concern is that if you watch the Comey video, he says, I'm ready, which means he's looking to get discovery out of this. And that always makes me a little jumpy of what's laying around there that we don't know about. So, it's not. This is not going to be a fun battle, and I'd really rather be more focused on getting this budget done.
Yeah, and what's your take on this? And James Comey seems to be like the political figure that won't go away. I mean, it goes back to 2016. I know a lot of people on your side of the aisle actually blame James Comey for Hillary Clinton losing that election, because you remember it was James Comey, it was in a couple of weeks leading up to that election, announced that he was reopening an investigation into Hillary Clinton and her emails. So it'd be interesting to get your take on what's going on here.
I mean, I think this is part of the what they call it, the flood the zone strategy. You have so much happening, so much chaos. You know, it's like, don't look what's happening in my left hand while your right hand is actually making everything go on. I'm actually really concerned about the Department of Justice, and if it's used for retribution. Because no matter if you're a Republican, Democrat, or Independent, you don't want a Department of Justice that's targeting individuals based on whether their political ideology lines up with yours or not. It is a Pandora's box that no one wants to see open, and we don't know where it ends.
Mm-hmm. And let's final topic of this segment, talk a little bit about the return of Jimmy Kimmel. Obviously, ABC, Disney had suspended him after the FCC chairman suggested that they could be running into some problems if they didn't get rid of him. I want to get your thoughts on his return and what it means. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel had a massive audience, as we showed a little bit earlier in that package. It seems to maybe have backfired against this president and this administration?
Well, it kind of goes back to a little bit about what we were just talking about. I mean, some of these rocks just aren't worth kicking over for Republicans. We got to stick to our core messages, which is getting a rein on fiscal conservatism in government, illegal immigration. Go to some of these base issues and get those solved instead of kicking over some of these rocks that just end up causing us more problems. But I will tell you this, that I think it's all about freedom of speech. When we talked about that when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and we talked about that when Jimmy Kimmel first was suspended, as long as we keep talking about freedom of speech and honoring that constitutional right, I think it's a good thing, whether Jimmy's back or not.
Yeah, and I would think that you would agree about the free speech issue. What's your take on Jimmy Kimmel? I mean, he probably would never have had that audience had this situation occurred.
I agree. So one of the things that I think why Jimmy Kimmel became a target is because he already had a sizable base. But now, by amplifying this issue, you're increasing his stature, you're increasing his audience. I actually think this could be more of an issue than, a government shutdown. When you start talking about freedom of speech, when you have folks, he's in everyone's, living room night after night. And I really believe this is really making it a place where people are saying, is the government going too far?
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to have to end it now for this segment. And when we come back, a new state law means the biggest porn site in the United States is now blocked in Arizona. That's next, right here on Politics Unplugged. And to get more in-depth on the issues, check out the Politics Unplugged podcast this week. I'm joined by Democratic consultant Joe Wolf to talk about the new leadership in the party. The Politics Unplugged podcast drops every Sunday evening wherever you get your podcasts. And that is, and we're bringing back the panel here. Thanks for sticking around. Now, we ended the last segment talking a little bit about free speech. New law took effect this past week in Arizona. It requires identification, verifiable identification to access some porn sites if you're in Arizona. Some people are saying this is a free speech issue. What do you say?
I agree. I mean, when you talk about, free speech, privacy, government overreach, this is something that, is mixed all in there. I mean, the reality is, you want to make sure that you're looking out for children's safety and protection. But also, when that also is lining up with, privacy, potential data hacking. I mean, what happens if, individuals' IDs are now, it's leaked and, it becomes even a larger issue, that could affect, children as well. I think this was the legislature going a little too far. I'm surprised it actually passed, but yeah.
Yeah, and why did the governor veto this the prior year and then sign almost the identical bill this time around, Marcus?
Honestly, I can't remember. I'm not watching porn bills, to be perfectly blunt with you. But I will tell you, this has been done in a number of other states, not 5, a number of other states. And what we're doing is we're saying for kids under 18, you don't have access to this. I think it's a smart measure. I mean, look, we're parents. we've got enough problems dealing on a daily basis. I don't need this one in my life. So if kids aren't looking at porn, then thank God.
Okay, and that's over what, 200, nearly about 250 new laws took effect or somewhere around there. Anything else stick out for you this year in a year where it didn't seem like a whole lot got done, but you're saying that maybe there were a few big bills?
I mean, you can't dismiss ag to urban, one of the biggest water accomplishments in the history of Arizona, helping to secure our water future and be able to
ag to
build.
urban, for people who aren't familiar with the parlance of down at the legislature, is converting agricultural land into land that can be developed, correct?
Correct. So we can get more houses using that use less water than agriculture would. And then certainly, the Diamondbacks bill, I think, was a big bill this year and secured their future at Bank One Ballpark and staying here in Arizona.
And how popular do you think that Diamondback bill was? We did see a lot of some Democrats down there kind of push back on this, saying, more public resources go into a stadium. Voters don't like that.
I mean, this is one of those, you call it caucus splitter issues, right? Where you have folks on both, Republican and Democratic side who are questioning sort of the merits and outcome of the legislation and what that's going to mean for communities, resources of that nature. I mean, we'll see how it rolls out, but I do think that this is an issue that, depending on how you see it, could come back to be an issue.
All right, Democrats had a big night the other night with Adelita Grijalva winning the open congressional seat down in southern Arizona. She is going to be replacing her father, longtime Congressman Raul Grijalva. He died last spring. Want to get your thoughts on her taking his seat. A lot of speculation, and she's talked about this a little bit in the campaign, that maybe she could be that decisive vote that could help get that bill to force the release of the so-called Epstein files that a lot of people have been talking about in D.C. for a few months now.
When you talk about the Epstein files, this has been a conversation that just keeps happening, and it's going to continue to play out. I mean, until you actually have some type of resolution. I think, Congresswoman-elect Grijalva, I think she'll do an excellent job. I mean, she let voters know who she was when she was running. She stayed with that conviction. They elected her, and I think she would be a reliable vote for Democratic leadership.
And what's your take on Grijalva? What kind of net effect is one person going to be having now down at the House? There's a very narrow majority for Republicans. Does it make it any harder for them to get business done in the House?
She's a carbon copy of her dad, so I don't see a whole lot changing, to be perfectly honest with you. And right now they're in the minority party, so there's not a whole lot to do. She's already announced vehemently hard that she is the most progressive member of Congress, and so it'll be interesting to see how that sort of fits in D.C. Is progressive still a thing, or is the Democratic Party going to start to have to redefine themselves? All
right, let's wrap up with this. I know we didn't really prepare for this, but I do want to get your take on this. I thought we were supposed to be getting an announcement or some decision, a big name, maybe running for governor, maybe not, but so far we haven't heard any decisions from David Schweiker. Have you heard anything about what his decisions in the future, about what he may or may not be planning to do?
I meant to make a phone call and I did not do that, so I apologize. I have not heard.
And if he does, could this be a big game changer if he was to jump into this race?
I said it a couple of weeks ago. Just David actually considering it, I don't think that's good for the Republican Party. You already have two declared candidates who are heavyweights in the party right now, and you have someone else who's thinking about getting in. That's saying that there might not be excitement about the two folks who are in that race.
All right, we're going to have to end it right there. Sorry, Marcus, always cutting you off, but I apologize again. But that is all the time we have here tonight. But be sure to join us next week for more Politics Unplugged. Good night.